It's no secret that there is a new head coach in town for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and today we're going to dive into what Leafs fans missed in this Craig Berube signing as head coach, and much more coming up on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into it, we gotta say that 85.6% of you guys watching these videos aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you're trying to keep up to date on everything that's happening around the hockey world, make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button. But with that said, let's get right into the first topic of the video. Before we talk about Craig Berube, we got to talk about Matvei Michkov making his way to Philly. And yes, today we seen on BR Open Ice's Twitter that there's a report out of Russia that Matvei Michkov will continue his career next season in Philadelphia. And that is right, you heard it right. Matvei Michkov is coming over to the NHL next season after having a phenomenal season over in the KHL with Sochi. And this is big news if you're a Philadelphia Flyers fan and if you're just an NHL fan in general, because there was a lot of talk around Matvei Michkov at the draft, whether he was going to go number one, whether he, was going to be in the top three, and ultimately fell to the Philadelphia Flyers, which, a lot of people were wondering, the big reason why he didn't get drafted higher is because they didn't know if Michkov would ever make his way over to the NHL, or if it would have been a long time before he worked his way to the NHL. But now we're just seeing, I believe, one season or maybe 2 seasons removed from that draft. I think it's one that we are going to see him in the NHL next year in a Philadelphia Flyers jersey, and you should be excited for this guy, because if you look at his stats from his time with the Sochi Hockey Club this season, he put up 41 points in 47 games in the KHL as a 19-year-old. 19 goals, 22 assists. I mean, it just shows how good Matvei Michkov is, just, jumping up at 21-point improvement from last season to this season, which is huge for the Philadelphia Flyers, because they have something special here in Matvei Michkov. This guy's an elite offensive player. I really think he's going to impact the NHL next year and could potentially win the Rookie of the Year. I'm putting it out into the ether right now that I think Matvei Michkov is going to have such a big impact in the NHL that he is going to win Rookie of the Year next year. And you could just say that's Habs fan bias because I was so hyped on Matvei Michkov at the draft, but I think this guy's a phenomenal talent. I've done lots of research on him, and I think if you're a Philadelphia Flyers fan, you are in for a treat next season, because this guy is going to be phenomenal. I mean, we've seen guys come over from the KHL, for example, Artemi Panarin, the Breadman, with about the same amount of points in the KHL, and his first year in the NHL, he went on a tear. Yes, he was a little bit older than Matvei Michkov, but, if you're seeing around the same numbers, like 40 points, or I believe Panarin was in that 40-point range as well before the year before he came over, and we've seen how big of an impact he had on the Columbus Blue Jackets. So just imagine what Matvei Michkov can do. I think this kid is something special. He's a generational talent, and I think we're going to be looking at him as one of the future stars of the NHL. And I'm a big Matvei Michkov guy. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year, and Flyers fans, get excited. But we're going to get into the Craig Berube part of the video here, which is what Leafs fans missed about Craig Berube, the signing. Obviously, like I said, it's not new news that the Toronto Maple Leafs have a new head coach in town in Craig Berube, but today we seen some comments come out from former players about Craig Berube and what kind of coach he is, and I think this is going to have a lot of Toronto Maple Leafs fans very, very excited. And just looking at the first quote here, this was, in the St. Louis team that lacked confidence back when they won the Stanley Cup. Craig Berube said this. I mean, Pat Maroon quotes what happened during this whole, when the team was down and out, and then they ultimately came back and won that championship. He said, we had a meeting way back when we were 5 games below 500, and he took the standings off the wall and said, I believe in you guys, and we're going to make the playoffs. He also said, you just have to keep finding ways to battle through these things because I believe in you. If I believe in you, then you guys should believe. I mean, this is such a great pep talk from Craig Berube here. Obviously, when that St. Louis Blues team went on that miraculous run, I mean, being out of the playoffs below 500, then coming back, battling all the way through the playoffs to win the Stanley Cup, he says he took the standings off the wall, Pat Maroon said, I believe in you, so you should believe that we can do this. And what did they do? They picked up for their coach, and they said, boys, we got to strap in here. We got to level the second half of the season and get into the playoffs, and then they ultimately went on that big run. So it's great to hear that, he instills confidence into his team, and I think this is going to be fantastic for the Leafs because we've seen times where Leafs players are down and out. They're upset with how things are going, and I think if you have Craig Berube there instilling this confidence into that team, I think this team is going to work wonders with him behind the bench because he's just going to be amazing for this club. Just building that confidence for this team is going to be huge, especially after all the years they've been put out in the first round, stuff like this. I think having Berube's experience is really going to help this team. But there is another quote here. This was, about the appreciation that the players have for Craig Berube. They say he knows exactly how the guys are feeling. I'm sure that helps him immensely because his players love to play for him. And they say everyone in that room loves to play for him because we know if he was sitting next to us on the bench, he'd be going to battle with us. And that was Blues defenseman Torrey Krug talking about Craig Berube there, and obviously this is big too because, if the players love to play for him and they want to win games for their coach, I think this is going to be big for the Toronto Maple Leafs because if they love playing for Craig Berube and they're seeing the success on the ice, they're going to want to keep doing this for their head coach, and this is big because, we've seen this in the past. Like I said, the Toronto Maple Leafs have lacked confidence, like I just talked about. He's going to bring that, but I think they've lacked the ability to want to win for their coach, which is horrible to say, but I think that with Craig Berube, a guy who cares so much about hockey and cares so much about being successful, having all this star-studded talent on his new team in Toronto is really going to help him out, and I really do think if he helps the players out and they start seeing the success and start seeing the wins come, I think they're going to start loving the play for Craig and wanting to win for him, which is a big deal in my books. Also, we do have another one here where this was about him, holding these players accountable. This was when Binnington, hit Jason Zucker when he skated around the back of the net. Craig Berube took to the media and said, it got to stop. It doesn't help anything. Just play goals, stop the puck. And they do say here that, after this, there was frustration and stuff, but they did work it out, Binnington and Craig Berube. But this is huge, especially for Toronto Maple Leafs fans. I know that you guys love to hear this because one thing that we've talked about a lot here on the channel that former head coach Sheldon Keefe didn't do was hold his players accountable for their actions. So seeing that Craig Berube has done this multiple times in the past, this is just one scenario where we've seen Binnington maybe get frustrated and knock somebody out around the net while he's playing goalie, and then Berube coming to the media and saying, hey, this needs to stop, just play goals, stop the pucks. I think this is big because I don't think we would have seen Sheldon Keefe say something like this. I know there probably would have been conversation in the locker room about this, but I think just having that coach that's going to hold players accountable, not just in the locker room, but to the media, is going to be good because, I think, especially this postseason, we had Mitch Marner. Obviously, the media was ripping him about his play during this playoffs. So I think if Craig Berube maybe, took him aside and just said, hey, you need to get going here. We need you. You're one of our best players. This really could have helped, Marner get that extra boost to play a better hockey in this playoffs. And I think bringing in Craig Berube is really going to help this as well. And the final point here that I want to make to you guys is the Game 7 talk. I mean, obviously, the Blues were winners 4-1, and after one, we've learned that why they were so motivated for that Game 7 win for the Stanley Cup. And they say Berube's pregame speech still gives people's goosebumps nearly 5 years later. They say just his confidence going into that game, how he handled that situation, he wasn't nervous. This is what Vince Dunn said about it. He said when Game 7 came, it was like, this is our time, let's do this. And if you haven't seen this Craig Berube pregame speech before their Game 7 win for the Stanley Cup, I advise you go look at it after this video, because this is one of the most inspirational speeches I've ever watched in my entire life watching hockey. And I think, you know, obviously we kind of harped on Sheldon Keefe for his Game 7 talk against the Bruins, where he said, you know, let's go out there and have fun. I mean, you know, that's just not what the Game 7 talk should be. It should be Berube putting his heart out, pouring his heart out to these players, saying, let's do this. This is our time. We need to win. And this is what he did for St. Louis. And what did they do? They went out there and won. So this is going to be big, because you got him instilling confidence in his players. You got him delivering motivational speeches, holding his players accountable for their actions, and just being a player's coach. People love to play for this guy. I think this is going to be big for Toronto. There are multiple more reasons why, you know, Craig Berube is right for the job and it's going to be a great fit for Toronto. But these are just the 4 that stuck out to me, saying that I think this Toronto Maple Leafs team is going to be different next year, not just by the players on the ice, but the people behind the bench that make it happen. And I think this is going to be big for Toronto. And if there was ever a year for Toronto to turn it around and get out of the first 2 rounds, it will be with Craig Berube behind the bench. You can mark that down, and you can come back to this video if the Toronto Maple Leafs go out in round 1 again next year, because I think this is going to be so huge for the Toronto Maple Leafs going forward. Just having a new face, a new voice in the locker room is going to be huge. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts about all this down below in the comment section. Do you think, you know, I'm out to lunch here with my take? Do you think that, you know, having a new coach isn't going to change anything? Or do you agree with me? Do you think this is going to be huge? Do you think that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to do something special with a new face beyond the bench? Let me know down below in the comment section. We're going to get into everybody's favorite topic here on the video, which is comment of the day. And comment of the day today goes to Huey. Huey says, sign Domi, he bleeds blue. And Huey, first off, gotta say, thanks for your support on the channel. Really appreciate seeing your comment down there in the comment section. And I definitely agree with you here, Huey. I think that they need to sign Max Domi. Me, as a Montreal Canadiens fan, I love this guy, and I think that, you know, the Toronto Maple Leafs fans now love him after seeing what he could do for this team, and he bleeds blue. He's going to go out there. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and I'm really excited for Leafs fans. I really hope that he re-signs in Toronto, because I think he loves playing in the blue and white. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road for 3,500 subscribers, so if you're not subscribed already, make sure down below and hit that subscribe button. Also, while you're down there, make sure to hit that like button. We really appreciate it. And, you know, popping up on your screen right now is a video I did the other day talking about some Tyler Bertuzzi replacements, so make sure to check that video out. But, as always, I've been your host, Casey. Keep your stick on the ice.